Thank you very much, Chairman of this evening's proceedings, Ms. Dr. Kamla Mungal, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Administration, Mrs. Gillian McIntyre, the two Deputy Permanent Secretaries, Prabha Miraj, Richard Madre. I see also present a lot of members from the PSCD Department and Communications from the Public Admin, a former head of the Public Service, Sandra Marchak, Professor Carrillo, thank you for having us here this evening to share our insights. And other members, if you just allow me to acknowledge as well, members of the board of the Government Human Resource Company Limited, the chairman and members of the board I see also present. And of course, members of my family. I see my mom, my brother, my sister, and other friends. Thank you for being here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is indeed a very, very important topic. Innovation in the public service of Trinidad and Tobago. If we look at the first, I don't know if you know this slide at all, but when we came into government, the very first statement made by the Ministry of Finance and Planning is that we will, through creativity, innovation, and collaboration, we shall prosper together. So we saw these circles coming together to give us lasting prosperity. This is our vision for the public service, and we call it the no wrong door approach. Some of us call it the one-stop shop, bundled offering, joined up government. What does it mean? We have a dream that one day you can walk into any government office in any part of this country, at any corner of this country, and be able to pick up any government service. Whether it is to renew your license, whether it is to renew your passport, whether it is to pay taxes. What's wrong in being able to walk into a library, an Alice library, and pay a parking ticket? That is where we want to be in the public service of Trinidad and Tobago. If you don't want to go to a public office, you can do it from your home computer, or you can do it from your smartphone. This is what we call the no wrong door approach to public service. I just wanted, for many of you who may be in this audience, for us just to differentiate between what we call the inventors and the innovators, entrepreneurs, and creativity. We hear a lot about being creative. We hear a lot about entrepreneurs. Who are these people? If I take a look here, do you realize, and I'm just using we're using this pictorial representation of a particular definition of invention and innovation. The inventor is the one who will throw the pebble. If he throws it hard enough, it goes into the pond and it is able to create enough ripples. The ripples you see there are really the innovations. The people around that pond are looking on. They are entrepreneurial, they're creative, and they want to be able to ride or generate a wave. They know at some point in time, those ripples will turn into waves, and they are ready to ride that wave. Think about them. They are riding the wave. So therefore, when we talk about entrepreneurs and we talk about innovators, these are people who are able to anticipate and know when to ride that wave. In that slide before, I wanted to just let you know, you saw 4 people that I wanted to come back to. That's the citizen, the public officer, in addition, the civil service, the civil society, and in that way, we are able to see how these different types of entrepreneurs come together. Do we know this slide at all? What does the public service look like today? We always hear about the silo effect, you know, when corporations were modernizing, whether they were multinationals, we talked about moving away from that silo effect. Do we know any of these? How many times you go to a government office and you're told, well, it's not in my job, it's not in my description, you probably have to check another office. That's the silo effect that is getting in the way. And we do have that problem in the public service today. Let's take a look. Do we know the state of play? Do we know this? Since the post office was closed and they canceled the bus service, all that's left is to queue up, petition, sign, protest, put up the placards. What about this one? I'm going to be honest about this. Are we honest enough to say this? I'm from the government and I'm here to bamboozle you, fool you. I know I did nothing today. Isn't that what we hear about public officers every day? And the average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago will tell you that about the public service. Having said that, I do want to say that we know public officers who are interested in developing in new public service, developing that new order, the future of the public service. And therefore, we now must be able to capture that enthusiasm in order to move forward. We talk about integration. We talked about that silo effect, this vertical effect that we have. And I just wanted to use an example from an integrated management system and look at the sort of synergies and symbiotic relationships that we develop. And in fact, this particular paper was speaking to the issue of looking at your processes, looking at your core processes, and re-engineering those core processes to take out all the waste. And what those processes had to do was to take into consideration the stakeholder requirements. What are the user's needs? In the case of a public service, for example, if I take this and put it into the similar type of a public service in achieving integration, can I look at the perspective of the citizen, the public officer, the young entrepreneur, or even the civil society? And therefore, when I integrate and I re-engineer my processes, I take out all the waste. You know, Kamala spoke about the whole issue of getting value for money and therefore removing all the non-value added processes. Today, I want to tell you that is now a demand of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, that there be value for money. This is again another snapshot of our public service. Do you know it? Does it look familiar? Every ministry is separate, and we are growing in the number of ministries that we have, more and more disjointed. And then you do have the citizen outside there, and he feels totally disconnected from the public service. You have civil society, NGOs, who want to get involved in public service and not even being able, not getting that opportunity to support you. That's the civil society outside there. Look at the young entrepreneur, university students. They're also good with technology. They know technology. They can develop. They want to put their creative minds to work, and yet still they're not getting an opportunity. So where do we, if we want to take that integrated approach? This is what we have been exploring at the Ministry of Public Administration, the whole issue of how we bring our public service back together, integrations. As you know, how do we put up those diverse teams together? How do we form teams, working groups, steering committees, get ministries linked, talking to each other once more? Then on top of that, how do we include in those overall teams civil society, the young entrepreneur, and citizens? Because you know why? Citizens today are no longer just interested in telling you how good your service is. In fact, if we go to the next slide, we will see what's happening here. If we bring all those stakeholders together, you do, if I start with the public officer. And this is what I talked about earlier. When we did our focus groups in the public service, at the PS, and they will bear me out, Mrs. Marchak, what was interesting was how many public officers want to become professionals. They want the public service to be the choice of employment. They would like one day to return to what it was in 1962. In addition to that, they're saying, but give me some space. I need space to innovate. I need space to be creative. Then you have the citizens. And the citizens themselves are telling you, I don't want to just tell you how good your service is. You know citizens today, as we talk about participatory democracy, everyone wants to tell you how. I want to participate in the governance process. I want to be able to make an input. Listen to me, I can tell you how to improve the service. You know how many times you go to a public service, I hear people call me. Let me tell you how this service could be improved. Why don't you all do this? I see my public officers smiling because we hear that almost every day. So citizens are ready to make their contribution and not only to be on the receiving end of public services. Civil society. We had just one such example recently where an NGO actually went into a public service and supported the public service because they bring different perspectives. So why not partner with that NGO or the civil society? And this is why the government took steps to establish what is called the Civil Society Board. Who is a young entrepreneur? Those young university students, the techies, who want to sit at home and develop. Actually, I will tell you, in the United Kingdom, they're called the Buzz. In fact, Mr. Cameron himself is the leader of this group, and he encourages them in order that if you make your data sets open, which is what we are doing in open government and open data, we make our data sets open now so that these young, bright individuals can now develop applications, whether for your BlackBerry or for your iPads and so on, to be able to access government services. And who are the future leaders of the public service? They're no longer managers. They're leaders of a different type. They're leaders who have to understand how to manage this process, how to lead this process, how to encourage innovation. Because one of the problems is you cannot be threatened if someone wants to tell you, I don't like your idea. How do you treat with that? And those are the leaders of tomorrow in the public service. Why is the public service considered to be, Kamala raised the issue of innovation in the public service. Why we feel that this public service could be innovative? If you look at the public service of Trinidad and Tobago, if we bring them back together, we will find that it is a microcosm of the society of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know how many of us realize that we have in Trinidad and Tobago probably the best platform for innovation because of our diversity. Some of us may not understand, but there's strength in diversity. And when we look at the different cultures, gender, religions, experiences, age groups, cultures, if we bring the public service together, we have that diversity throughout the public service. And if you look today at everywhere that is talking about innovation, whether in the private sector, whether in a company, whether in a huge multinational, it's about bringing these diverse groups together. Why is that important? It's about how you find that intersection of disciplines, of cultures. It is what presents the highest probability for innovation to take place. So what we need to do is, if we have this platform, why don't we use it as an asset? Why can't the public service become, in fact, I was talking to Kariri, and Kariri was telling us about developing incubators for innovation. And I said, but look, you have already incubator in the public service. If we bring back the public service together, integrate it, reintegrate it, we now have a platform, a diverse platform that will allow you the facility, the opportunity for innovation. How we manage this is not going to be easy. Just to tell you what is our initiative after analyzing all of this is what we call our Gold to Diamond journey from 2012 to 2022. It's a 10-year journey. Why Gold to Diamond? Because in 2012, we celebrated 50 years of our public service in Trinidad and Tobago. We call that the golden era. And on that golden anniversary, we celebrated and we recognized and rewarded 50 public servants who contributed in no insignificant way, but in very significant ways to the development of the public service in Trinidad and Tobago. At that gala award ceremony last year, in 2012, we gave out the 50 awards, some of them posthumous, the first permanent secretary and head of the public service in Trinidad and Tobago in 1962. And we went down. The many people that we rewarded and recognized included a big cross-section, which only at that time when we were rewarding them, many were able to comment on, again, the diversity of your public service. They included police officers, defense officers. It included teachers, principals, past permanent secretaries, directors, healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses. And that tells you what is in the public service. Just remember, the public service at its large is about 80,000 people employed within the public service of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, that started our 10-year journey. The diamond, as you see emerging, the diamond that came out of it, Lisa, just 1 second, back to the diamond that's coming out of that pyramid. What we launched was there was the opening up of the pyramid, and the diamond emerging, because in 2022, we will celebrate our Diamond Jubilee, our 60th anniversary of the public service. And therefore, we wanted to realize a whole new vision for a citizen-centric 21st century public service, which we call our Diamond. So the first 50 years, we had our gold, and by the 60th, we must have our Diamond standard in place. So therefore, I just want to speak to 3 initiatives that we have ongoing in this Gold to Diamond journey. There are many initiatives, but I want to speak to 3 initiatives that I feel speak to the issue of innovation in the public service. And that is our new architecture, the Diamond Certification Program, and our shared services. In terms of the proposed new architecture, and this is where the term came from, Diamond, because if you look at the public service of the past, there's a triangle on the side, which was your gold pyramid. Does it look familiar to you? There's that gold pyramid, very bottom heavy. Many clerical staff at the bottom who take instructions, very few people at the middle management level, very few professional streams in the public service. And therefore, at the bottom of it is that these are people who take instructions. And I'm sure you know that. How many times you hear, I have to get something done, I need an approval, but it has to go to the permanent secretary. And it takes months sometimes for it to go all the way up to the top of the organization and back down. The diamond that we are talking about is that if we look at what is happening, is that we are now narrowing at the bottom of the organization. And at the bottom of the organization, representing what is happening in society with respect to technology and what is happening in the workplace and professional streams. Today, it's just the same way how we have moved away from Secretary's Day to Administrative Professionals Day. We now have those multi-skilled individuals who are just not there to type or to do shorthand. Because I would tell you, when I came into the public service, when I came into the Ministry of Public Admin, one of the first things I could not believe I had to approve was, to change the legal notice that required an exam for a Pitman exam. Was it that, Gillian? Yes, a Pitman exam for shorthand. How many of you know anything about shorthand? Who knows about a stenographer? Do you know we still have stenographers in the public service at the clerical and manipulative level? And we signed a notice to remove that requirement. Although that is one of the reasons why people were not moving up in the public service. And what we want to replace at the bottom of the diamond are multi-skilled individuals, people who are technology-driven, who could schedule meetings, who could perform some customer service, who at the end of the day as well could help you project manage, can do data entry. So it's a multi-skilled individual supporting the center, the level 2. And at level 2, to professionalize the public service, we widen that level 2 to include many new professional streams today that are not existing in the public service. The knowledge workers, the facilities management, the procurement, the engineers, the different fields, because we see it when we get our returning scholars. There's just no room to absorb these returning scholars because we don't have the professional jobs to absorb them. Very important in this diamond, I want you to know, when I became Minister of Public Admin, the Minister of Finance, then Minister of Finance, Winston Dukaran, was launching the whole project of results-based management and performance-informed budgeting. And what that means is that instead of getting money based on how you spent last year, every ministry now is supposed to get money based on what your targets are, your objectives, and what sectors you're going to be contributing to, based on specific performance targets set. So based on how you are contributing is how you will get an allocation of your resources, moving towards more the value for money concept, CAMLA. And as a result of that, he asked, when you look at the structure of the public service, there's no way we can implement a performance-informed budgeting system or results-based management. And this is why when we developed our new architecture, this new HRM architecture, it was to become the vehicle that will be able to deliver on performance-informed budgeting. In there as well, in level 2, I want you to appreciate it is not just the structure alone that is important, but in level 2 is a space that is going to be created for innovation and creativity, for what we call empowerment of public officers, for faster decision-making and better quality decision-making. So no longer are you required to go all the way up to the top. There will be more delegation of authority at the level 2, and even some delegation of authority at the bottom of the diamond. In addition to that, one of the things I want us to appreciate here is that research still says a significant percentage of innovation takes place by those who are at the front desk. And those are the very same people at the bottom of this organization. So therefore, when we talk about innovating public services, new products, it's going to take place at the bottom of this organization. But at the level 2 is where you will have systems innovation, where we'll be able to re-engineer the organization itself to be able to support the level 3. What does this do for us? It tells us, if we look at the components of this revamped HRM architecture, human resource management architecture, is that first of all, we'll have right people in the right jobs. What this means, and this is what we are doing right now, is developing something called a competency-based management system for the public service. And that is, everything will now become merit-based. In fact, when you looked at the diamond, you would see that there were renewal points at all points of the diamond. In the past, as you know, you were promoted based on how many years you served and seniority. What we are now saying is that all promotions will become merit-based. So it depends on your performance. It's bringing in a whole new type of performance management. But important in there is that if you look at the innovative and adaptable workforce, this is a workforce that has to be innovative. So we have to give them space for innovation. And very important in there, with that innovation, there must be flexible structures. No longer those rigid structures that existed in the pyramid, in the gold pyramid. We saw those concentric circles we formed around different clusters of ministries, and when we formed them, including the civil society and citizens. How are we to achieve that if we are not flexible in our structures? And in fact, to bring that flexibility into being, it will also allow us to move to what we call flexi time and hot desking. What does that mean? Public officers, if they're responsible enough and they're rewarded appropriately, will be able to stay at home and be able to work from home. And when there are times for you to report, you report. And what it also does for us in hot desking is that we are able to use the very same facilities for different groups of employees within the public service. And with hot desking, therefore, think about the cost to government in terms of rental of public space. And that will reduce. Important in there as well, in those flexible structures, as we start developing those flexible structures, we must have a new type of reporting and accountability and transparent systems going forward. Of course, what is it saying here? To be able to achieve that, we must have a different type of reward, recognition, and compensation system. And I want to tell you, last year we did do excellence awards, and it was interesting to know that public officers were just so happy to be recognized for their service in public service. Just one back to that same one, this one here, back to this is how we become outcome and implementation focused as well, results based, and in addition to that, we must have strategic management when we talk about talent management in our public service. So you know, long ago we talk about training and development and so on. We want to embrace that new concept. And in fact, on our study tour last year in Canada, we looked at the different models for talent management in the public service. So therefore, what is this diamond standard? It is that mechanism to empower and incentivize our staff and build leadership capacity, as well as develop a mindset for results in public services and state-owned agencies. So that's our first initiative in terms of how we restructure the public service of Trinidad and Tobago. Our second initiative is called the Diamond Certification Program. And this is about how we innovate services that come to you as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Every person in here is a citizen, and every one of you are on the receiving end of government services. In fact, it was guided based on the Global Competitiveness Report, the criteria established for that, because as you know, the public service continues to be an impediment in the way of the ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago and ensuring that we are globally competitive. It was also informed by the Ease of Doing Business program, business report and the employee survey, memory polls, which told us what people felt and how they felt about public services. The criteria and the criteria for this diamond certification, and in fact, the process itself is one. We do have a pilot with 24 agencies right now. So just before I go to the diamond certification, let me just tell you, we launched this project in June of this year, 2013, and what it involves is that they must go through first and set up their service charters. They must go through and set up their service improvement plans, and coming out of that service improvement plan, they will move forward to implement the service improvement plans. There are specific time frames for the pilot agencies that have launched in June, and they must complete by June of next year, of 2014. Must be assessed as well. We are in the process of training assessors to assess these services against these criteria. Once they are assessed and they meet the standard, they get to put up what they call the diamond logo over that service. Who are some of the agencies involved? We have about 24 agencies, I think. It's about, for example, the ferry service, PTSE, court service. We have emergency departments in both San Fernando General and Eastern Regional Health Authority. Medical records at the North Central Regional Health Authority. We have a court, the family court. We have a police, the Belmont Police Station. We have 2 schools, in fact, involved in this exercise. Home grant system, HTC, the TT Connect, the TT card, where you get your food cards and so on. So social services are also part of this pilot. What are the criteria that they will be assessed again? If we look at is how are you customer focused? And being customer focused means how you actually outfit as well your physical environment. And in fact, last year, January of 2012, we launched what was called a new outfitting policy for all public buildings. And in that outfitting policy, there must be natural ventilation, there must be natural lighting, maximizing that. Your workspace must be designed to allow for team effort so that we can have that creativity and innovation. No longer are you going to see people talking to you across counters. There must be open spaces for you to meet with your clients, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And in fact, you know, when we're telling public offices, you know, in fact, I told the Minister of Legal Affairs the other day that, you know, all those glass panes have to come down if you're going to participate in the diamond certification. You now have to interact. He says, well, what would I do with all the documents? I said, yes, they will all be stored electronically, and people must be able to have access to their documents. That is what is being open and transparent is all about. So therefore, when we talk about the customer-focused culture and taking down that barriers between yourselves and your clients is important. How you interact with your clients. So that is when we become customer-focused. The second one is how do you understand and engage customers and staff? And that happens with your service charter. When you put up that service charter saying, what is my commitment to you as your customer? I tell you I will answer the phone after 5 rings. If you send me an email, I will respond within 48 hours. If not, when you come in, I am prepared to be courteous to you. I have an obligation to be courteous. But there are also obligations on the client. When the client comes in, the citizen, he must have all his documents. He must also be courteous to the staff. So the service charter, when you put it up on your wall, it becomes that contract between you, the public officers, and the citizens who are your clients. Must be easy to do business. When we are redesigning these services, we are not redesigning it based on how I could deliver the service to you. It's how easy it is for the customer to access that service. Deliver the promised service and put things right. How many times you hear customers come to you in the licensing office and they give you suggestions and you just ignore these suggestions? What are we going to do to encourage that we will try as far as possible to incorporate your suggestions? Deliver the give clear information and be open and accountable. Just imagine the young entrepreneur, the buzz in the UK. If you had all your data sets published on your website, all your policies, your procedures, statistics about your service, can you imagine the kinds of applications these techies would start designing for you and for the public? And therefore, this is how we start making public services accessible. So it's a partnership. When we open up, and this is what the open government and open data is all about. Be committed delivering value for money. So at all points in time, they will get points They will get more points from the assessors if every time the service delivery team can show how much I have done to be able to eliminate waste and bring back value for money. Be committed to innovation, must show that commitment to technology, and we don't mean big technology, not big systems, not big software. Simple solutions sometimes that we can derive out of technology. Last but most important, work in partnership with others to deliver for results for citizens. A very important point there, that is how we will move to the no wrong door approach, or the one-stop shop for government services. Because we are able, at the end of the day, I can partner with NALIS as the court to get my parking tickets paid. I can partner with another agency where I can pay taxes. Why can't I go to the library and pay my income tax and have that forwarded to the income tax office? So these are some of the things that we are trying. So they now have to partner, show that they're willing to partner with a sister or brother agency, which will help them at least start the process, if not complete the whole public service. Shared services is our third initiative, and we had started it last year. We had announced it in the budget of 2012, and one of the things there, we started a pilot between the Ministry of Public Administration and the Ministry of Communication, because as the world goes, you will see that most public services are recognizing the importance of sharing common platforms. For example, payroll doesn't change from one ministry to the other, so why can't we have one agency providing payroll services, financial services, human resource management services, auditing services? Why not as well when we think about other areas, ICT? In fact, in Canada, when we did the Canadian tour last year, the study tour, we saw where Canada themselves put up an agency that will offer ICT services that are shared across all public agencies. So that pilot was started, and this year we launched another pilot, and it's called the Shared Integrated Social Services. In this particular case, we analyzed, and you remember when we talked about clustering various ministries, so our ministry people, the Ministry of Public Admin went in and started looking at the various clusters among ministries. And one of the things is that they took a detailed analysis of the social services. If you look there, any of you all are familiar with that? Ministry of the People and Social Development. Look at how many programs they are offering to senior citizens. The Ministry of Community Development, Ministry of Education, OPM, the Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of, this is the Ministry of Labor and Social Micro Enterprise, Ministry of Tertiary Education, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Public Utilities, Ministry of Health. And if you look at, just take an example, if I look at survivor programs, I have 2 and 3 ministries offering almost the same programs for survivors. If I look here again, 22 programs in employment. Look how many ministries are running programs in employment. So we looked at how we can cluster these ministries and look at a shared service concept. Important in this particular exercise, when we looked at the shared service concept for social services, we not only looked at the inside, the internal side, how we will share platforms, but we used a bit of the one-stop shop on the external side. So if we look at the innovation, we got all the benefits. Of course, you know, by sharing these services, we were able to reduce the cost. We were able to get one access point. So think about the cost to the customer, because he or she is going to one office to access all of these services, and not many different offices, Ministry of the People, Ministry of the Community Development Office, Ministry of Labor Office. If I want employment, I'm visiting many different offices of various ministries. So I can reduce the cost of travel to the citizen if I'm able to integrate these services. Secondly, think about on the public service side, value for money. We are able to reduce the cost, improve the efficiency and effectiveness of how we deliver public services. But you know, when we did this integration, the most important part is while we talked about efficiency and effectiveness, what came up and what was thrown up in the whole program was something called case management. Because at the end of the day, we measured the performance of these ministries by how many food cards I give out. That's my performance measure. For the Ministry of the Home Improvement Grant, they measure the performance based on how many home improvement grants were granted for the year. But at no point in time, what was the ultimate objective? Poverty eradication. How are they all contributing to eradicating poverty or poverty alleviation? And therefore, recognizing by the shared service, shared databases, I can now have something called, this is the innovation side of it, case management, where I now have a case manager responsible for being able to look at an entire family. I can tell you as a member of parliament, many members of parliament, when someone comes into you and asks you for a food card, it's a symptom of another problem. Are there children in school? Are these children receiving an education? What's the problem? Do they have birth certificates? The children are not in school. Is your husband working? Why is he not working? Can there be meaningful employment? Well, I can't have meaningful employment because I'm not skilled. Okay, so let's get you into a skill program. So if you had the integration of these services, look at the holistic approach we can use in this particular case. We can deal with whole families and deal with several issues at one time instead of dealing with each in an isolated way. So I'm not dealing with the food card, delivery of a food card. I'm no longer just dealing with the home improvement. Yes, I may want to give you the home improvement grant. We can apply for that. But what if that home improvement grant can be used to ensure that these children can study in a better environment? So that is the issue. When we looked at integration, and that's the point I'm trying to make, as we integrated, new ideas emerged, creativity and innovation. And the case manager is a new set of people that have emerged out of this integrated approach to social services. Achieving the diamond standard. This is what we mean by achieving the diamond standard. Having those better working environments based on our outfitting policy. All public officers, public officers will tell you that I come to work on a Monday, but I want to leave as soon as possible. I'm glad for a Friday evening, and I hate a Monday morning. So why don't we get it the other way around? They hate leaving on a Friday evening, but love coming to work on a Monday morning. So that's what we want with the better working environment. They're building high-performance teams, people who are motivated by performance, want to achieve, high achievers. How do we set that back? And then again, based on the way we reward and recognize. It must be citizen-driven, And therefore, we must be able to have happy and more productive public servants with increased output. Rewards, recognition, and excellence is an important aspect. And very important there must be space to innovate. So whenever we say, for example, we have achieved the diamond standard, you must have these 6 elements in it. So if it is, and I will tell you, for example, in the new human resource management architecture, the first initiative that I mentioned, we have 4 pilot ministries involved in actually transforming to that new diamond structure. Ministry of Trade, Customs and Excise, Board of Inland Revenue, Judiciary. The 4, and again, too, that was guided based on what was happening in the global competitiveness report, what was telling us about what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, how we will know if it has been transformed is when you have these 6 elements at the end of the day. If we are talking about a diamond certification, the second initiative, which is about how we innovate public services, we must again have these 6 elements. And thirdly, if we are talking about the shared services concept, integrated social services, we will test it based on these 6 areas. I thank you for the questions and answers. We are here today because we want to listen to you. I thought I would give you the overall, the context that we could base this discussion. And really and truly, I want you to know that if you look here and you watch, you see the inventor throwing that pebble. Any one of you here in this room could be those innovators riding that wave. Whether you are a citizen who want to participate and make an input in how to improve a service or a government process, or if you want to be civil society who wants to support a public service, or if you want to be a leader, future leader in the public service, you can be any, or a young entrepreneur. In fact, the buzz that we are talking about, we are creating such a group at UE, and we are calling them the Diamond Buzz. So you could be any one of these 4 people here today, or just an average citizen wanting better services. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to hearing your inputs, because this is about consultation, this is about discussion, this is about hearing your inputs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.